Did you break a leg which led to you being able to dunk?
Yeah, man, you are putting a smile on my face.
Hey guys, Trey Lewis here. I am so excited about a new project that we're getting ready to roll out. It is called the High Impact Podcast. It is designed to help you with leadership development, with your personal development, and also spiritual development. We're going to roll these out about once a month, but I'm not going to give you content unless I've got something really good to be able to serve you with. Our first guest is one of my heroes. He is a New York Times best-selling author, a pastor of a large church. His name is Mark Batterson. He wrote The Circle Maker, Chase the Lion. I started off this year with a book called Play the Man that he wrote that is just incredible. And then he's going to be talking about his new book on the podcast for part of that, and it's called Please, Sorry, and Thank You. You're going to love it. Super excited about it, and look forward to seeing you guys out there soon. Very excited to be here today. I'm with my new friend, Mark Batterson. How are you?
Doing good, Trey. Good to hang out for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, man. It is an honor. Your life, your ministry, your books have impacted my life and our organization here at Good Landing in a profound way. So much of your stuff. Circle Maker, Chase the Lion is a huge one. And then I just started off 2023 with Play the Man. And it's just unbelievable, man. So thank you.
Wow. Well, it sounds like I've been keeping you busy.
Yeah. you have been. You have been. It. Yeah, it's awesome. Well, yeah, I would love to talk today about your perspective on where a lot of people that listen to this podcast, where they're at. We see a lot of people really in their, coming out of or really in the middle of the worst chapter of their life. And a lot of brokenness, a lot of families that I think that one time had, dreams for their children, or spouses that had these ideas of what family was going to look like, only to find that it was derailed in a, in a horrific way, by addiction. And anyway, just, as people try to make sense out of all that, I just love to hear from you.
Yeah. Well, I think Mike Tyson said it best. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, Trey. Yeah. Life is unfair. Life is hard. And I honestly believe that probably all of us have addictive tendencies. And you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, because
I agree.
You're the expert. The question is, are they healthy and holy addictions? Are they positive? I think it's Dr. William Glasser, who talked about positive addiction. At the end of the day, you have to make or break the habits that make or break you. And, a lot of us have these kind of negative addictions that can really eat our lunch and leave us in a pile of ruin. But man, I believe in a God who never gives up on us. And there is a God who gives beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, and the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. So what I've learned, because I've been knocked down a few times myself, I've got some failures on the resume, but you know what I've learned? I've learned that pain and suffering can actually create capacity for joy, that grief can create capacity for God's glory in our life, that the hard things that happen, listen, the obstacle is not the enemy. The obstacle is the way. You get to the other side of it and you pass that test. Now you have a testimony. And Trey, I'm talking to someone that has that testimony, and there are a lot of people listening right now have that same testimony. So, I guess I would say Don't give up on yourself. God hasn't given up on you. Don't give up on yourself. He's the God of second, third, and 100th chances.
Yeah, that's so good. If I remember correctly, is there a story? Did you break a leg which led to you being able to dunk?
Yeah, man, you are putting a smile on my face because I have to say this for the record. The older you get, the better you were as an athlete. Okay.
So true.
It just is what it is. So I played some basketball in college, and but when I was a sophomore in high school, I broke my ankle in the most embarrassing way possibly. We were doing wind sprints, Trey, just up and down the court, and I turned an ankle. Like, how embarrassing is that?
Oh,
And I broke my ankle. I thought it was going to derail my sophomore season in high school, but our high school had 3 floors, and I had to hop to every single class between 8 periods. And I hopped up and down those stairs so many times on one leg that before the cast even came off, I was dunking the basketball with a cast because I had to overcompensate for it. So I kind of look back on it and listen, broken things can lead to higher heights. And that's not just metaphor. It's not just figurative. I think that little story probably is the story of a lot of people's lives. Sometimes something has to break for you to gain strength in another place.
yeah, that's so good. I was just thinking about that story. I didn't even have it planned to talk about today, but it was just, gosh, it was just such a powerful illustration of, really just like a lot of people, the season that they're in.
Can I riff on that for a second?
Yeah, please.
I'm fascinated by the theory of compensation.
Yeah.
And the theory of compensation is that our perceived disadvantages are often advantages in disguise. And so a guy named Dr. Alfred Adler did this research and found out that many artists had optical anomalies, which you think would be a disadvantage,
Right.
but it helped them see things differently. And many composers had ear conditions that they couldn't hear. I mean, Beethoven lost his hearing before he wrote the Ninth Symphony, which is probably his most famous. And then this is crazy, Trey. A recent study has found that 35% of small business owners, entrepreneurs, were dyslexic, which is crazy to me. I think what's happening is this: when you have a weakness, you have to compensate for it with work ethic or with other skill sets or in other ways. And so last time I checked, God's power is made perfect in our weakness. So we think that the broken things disqualify us. No, that's exactly where God is going to do his greatest work in and through your life. And so, that was a little sidebar, but it's one of those. That theory of compensation has always inspired me because I have a lot of weaknesses, but I've learned that God can use those in some pretty amazing ways.
Yeah, that's profound, and I love that thought. Are you dyslexic?
You know what? I'm not.
Okay.
But it's kind of funny. Like when I was in grad school, I took this assessment, aptitude assessment, and it showed a low aptitude for writing. In other words, whatever
That's
you
it.
do.
Okay.
Don't write books. Don't
Right.
inflict that on the world. So writing is not a natural gifting. And right behind me are literally thousands of books. Well, I read 3,000 books before I wrote one because I had to teach myself how to write literally by reverse engineering other authors. So I really think you got to pay attention to those weaknesses and don't be surprised if that's where God ends up using you.
That's amazing. So when you read the 3,000 books, did you know that you planned to write a book?
Yeah, at 22, I had this moment where it's hard to describe. I just felt called to write. But 13 years later, I had nothing to show for it, Trey. I I I actually despise my birthday because it was like an annual reminder of a dream deferred. And so, I was 22, but I did not write a book until 35. And finally, I just got so frustrated. I'm like, my 35th birthday is going to be a deadline. And one way or the other, I'm not going to turn 35 without a book to show for it. So it took 13 years. I will say this: I'm kind of glad I didn't write something at 22, because I would have had to write a book at 23 to retract what I said at 22.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's so funny. So you have written a new book, Please, Sorry, and Thanks. I would love to just hear from you about it, and where we can get it.
Yeah. Well, can I just wide angle? I believe in the power of words, Trey. Like I even wonder, like I have a few people that at very vulnerable times in my life have just spoken words of encouragement, or words that just help me get back up off of the mat and try again. Um, the power of life and death is in the tongue. That words create worlds. So I believe in the power of words. And if you want to change your life, you have to change your story. You have to use different words. So I better say that up front. That really it's a book about the power of words, but more specifically, three little words: please, sorry, and thanks. Which I bet a bunch of people are just kind of chuckling right now because I sound like their mom or dad.
Yeah.
Like you need to say please, sorry, and thanks. But here's my theory: if you're good at those three words, you're good to go. You're going to be successful in business, in marriage, in a relationship with God. That if you get really good at please, sorry, and thanks, so that they're not just words, they become a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the foundation for every happy and healthy relationship. And I think it's the only ceiling. I think the people who get promoted in the world, Trey, it's not just the people with a PhD. There are lots of PhDs. I think it's people with people skills. It's people with high emotional intelligence. It's people who are just really good at a genuine please, sorry, and thanks. And so that's kind of the heart of the book. And it's a little bit about the art and science of those three words.
Yeah, it's strong. I one of the quotes: "Nothing opens doors like please. Nothing mends fences like sorry. Nothing builds bridges like thanks." And just as as I look at that, I think about honor. I think about a culture of honor. I loved, how, some of the takeaways and the impact that, or the outcome of reading the book is to be able to shift atmospheres at work, to be able to change your family. And we're inundated with leadership content. So whenever I was looking at this, it just has me excited about, coming back of just, man, can we love people well? And really just, I'm sure the way that you're going to break it down, I'm excited about it.
Well, I think so much of leadership is not just setting the agenda, but setting the tone. Like, tone is really important right now. This is a cultural moment where we're so polarized, and let's be honest, kind of everybody's sort of blaming everybody else for everything.
Right.
And I don't think that's going to get us where we need to go. I think we need a rising tide of please, sorry, and thanks. And they really are magic words. Like, people that are really good at please, just doors do fly open for them. And that sorry word, man, that's a hard one. But if anybody out there is married, you better get good at it because you're going to be using that word a lot. and then to me, Trey, the thanks is kind of the flywheel of gratitude. That I don't think joy is getting what you want. I think it's appreciating what you have. And it's fascinating to me that in Orthodox Judaism, you would pronounce 100 blessings a day. Like, that's some serious gratitude.
Yeah.
And the Talmud says that if you experience a blessing and you don't give thanks, it's as if you have stolen it from God. I think some of us are shoplifting. And so I think thanks is a way of just that thing coming full circle. And in fact, it's one of our family values. Generosity, gratitude, humility, and courage are four things that we want to be known for as Battersons. But I think gratitude is where it starts. It's all from God. It's all for God. And when you live out of a place of gratitude, it's a game changer, because then it's almost like everything's gravy. Then, like, you recognize every breath, borrowed breath. Every gift is a borrowed gift. And how do we make the most of that? I think it probably starts with getting really good at thanks.
Well, how should that play out? I mean, again, I think about our audience. I think about, when you think about an addict, default settings are on destruct, negativity. What are some really practical exercises that, somebody could apply to change that?
Yeah. Well, as it relates to thanks, I'm a big believer in a gratitude journal. And I try to find 3 gratitudes a day, which means I'll end up with 1,000 at the end of the year. There's at the base of our brainstem, there's a cluster of cells called the reticular activating system. Mm-hmm. And it determines what we notice and what goes unnoticed. Well, Trey, I know people who, no matter how good life is, they're going to find something to complain about, because that's what they're looking for.
Right.
We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And so you flip that, though, and a gratitude journal it sanctifies that reticular activating system, so that you are literally looking for things every single day. Like, what am I grateful for today? And that little exercise, it can make a huge difference. And every week, my wife and I, when we do our Sabbath, which, my day job is pastoring a church, so it's not Sunday. We Sabbath from a Sunday night to a Monday night.
Okay.
And we always begin it by sharing gratitudes, and it keeps our marriage moving kind of in a positive direction. And so there's a concept in psychology called a downward counterfactual, and it's basically comparing your situation to someone's situation who is worse. And let's be honest, there's always someone or something that's in a tougher spot than you are. Right. And I just think you have to find a way to stay focused on the good things, the God things, the blessings, especially if you're in a tough place. You got to rebuild that foundation of gratitude. And then that positive energy begins to feed your ability to hopefully overcome some of those addictions.
Yeah, that's so good. When are you coming to Atlanta?
Well, I mean, you go anywhere these days and it seems like you fly through Atlanta.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I can't wait to get on the ground and see what's happening. I mean, pretty remarkable. And Trey, can I just say this? You're on the front lines, helping folks that the reality is Americans are really struggling right now on a lot of different levels, and it usually manifests as this addiction or that addiction. So thanks for doing what you do on the front lines.
It's an honor. Thank you so much for saying that. Please, Sorry, and Thanks. When is that going to be released?
April 4th.
April
And
4th.
releases, hits bookshelves, and excited to get that book into people's hands. And I think it's one of the shorter books I've read that I've written, because our attention spans aren't quite as long these days. I wanted a quick hitter, Trey, something that just was like, hey, give me a quick dose of please, give me a quick dose of sorry, quick dose of thanks. And so it's fun. I share stories because I think whoever tells the best story wins. John Quincy Adams said that. Okay. And a lot of studies. I think we just have to get better at harnessing the power of our words. And for better or worse, those words become self-fulfilling prophecies. So excited. It'll release April 4, and look forward to that book getting into people's hands.
That's awesome. I'm excited. One of my favorite quotes, and I believe it's from the Circle Maker, and I hope I get it right: pray like it depends on God, work like it depends on you. Yeah. And that language is a because I feel like there's a lot of times there's just two thoughts of camps of thought where they're just saying, it's either, work hard, it's all about grind, it's all about grit. And then the other is don't strive, just wait, just rest. And for somebody that's wired like me, whenever I heard that, I just felt like it finally put some language to how I want to do life. Yeah. And anyway, man, I'd just like for you is, you're talking to, young leaders and people that are, in that spot of where they've got to do real work and they've got to trust God for the outcome.
Yep. Well, I think miracles happen where God's grace meets our grit. So it is those two things. I think if you want God to do the super, you have to do the natural. So I'm not looking for shortcuts. There aren't any cheat codes out there, Trey. I wish there was, but you want to get in shape, guess what? You're going to have to hit the gym. You're going to have to work it out. And the same is true for all of life, but I think it's a two-sided coin. So I want to give God my best effort. I want to work like it depends on me, but then I want to pray like it depends on God. And in my experience, prayer is the difference between the best we can do and the best God can do. It's kind of the X factor or the it factor. And I know even Trey, I'm like, it's remarkable to me all that God has done in and through you, even getting the short version of your story, like that does not happen without prayer. I mean, there are some things that like you look back and only God could have done that. So I think it's both and. Job 11:6 is one of my go-to verses. It says true wisdom has two sides, and we tend to think in either or categories, but I think you got to think in both and categories. Mm-hmm. And so let's break a sweat, blood, sweat, and tears. No shortcuts. Harder is better. That's kind of the way I'm wired as a person. But then I'm going to hit my knees, and prayer is the way that going to write history before it happens. And so gonna pray like it depends on God. And some really good things begin to happen when we begin to do those two things in tandem.
That's so good. That is so good. I remember a friend of mine that used to work here, and we had hit some big goals, and he just said, we're good, but we're not that good. And I just love that. Just, God's signature on it all. But anyway, I appreciate you. I appreciate so much who you are, the inspiration, the faith, the drive, the line chaser mentality. I mean, it has helped shape my life, and I just can't say thank you enough for your ministry.
Well, Trey, let's keep going after those 500-pound lines. And the way you steward a miracle is by believing God for bigger and better miracles. So I'm a guy that until the day I die, is going to believe that the best is yet to come, that we haven't seen anything yet. So I trust that you're going to help hundreds and hundreds, thousands and thousands more people overcome addiction, get it in the rearview mirror, but even more than that, leverage it as a stepping stone into what God has for them next. So let's keep believing big, praying hard, and thinking long.
So good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Hey, joy and privilege. God bless, Trey.
Hey, God bless you too. See you.